Hello and welcome to the Power of Charms interview series. We have a really fun person today, somebody that's very near and dear to my heart. Her name is Ruth Sanchez, and she is the Executive Director of Project C.U.R.E. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kay. Happy to be here.
I know. Well, it's so fun because we just finished a really interesting project together. Let me share this. We did a beautiful custom bracelet for Project C.U.R.E. It matches your brand colors. You recommend asked to do 2 colors, and then it has your little charm on the end for Project C.U.R.E. And then you're going to be giving these to your donors. So that was a wonderful project that we worked on together, our first project together, I hope. But Ruth, can you tell our audience about Project C.U.R.E. and your work there?
Sure. Project C.U.R.E. Has been in existence since 1987. Our founder, Dr. Jackson, was in another country, Brazil, and he was helping with the economy, went to a clinic in a favela and found that the clinic only had 1 gurney and a roll of Band-Aids. And so he was heartbroken and asked the doctor, how do you treat patients? And he said, we try to do the best we can with what little we have. And so he made a commitment to go back home to Denver and ask his friends for medical supplies. And a few days later, his friends had donated $50,000 worth of supplies that went to that clinic. And that's what started Project C.U.R.E. And we are now shipping 200 plus 40-foot containers every year to over 135 countries. And we have 7 chapters. The headquarters is Denver. We have our warehouse here in Tempe. Mm-hmm. Houston has a chapter, Chicago, Nashville, Kansas City, Missouri, and Philadelphia. So we've doing this work. It's humanitarian aid, and we bring health and hope to clinics and medical facilities that have nothing to treat their local patients.
It's such an amazing just concept, because it's like all these struggling hospitals and health facilities all over the world cannot get the supplies that they need. And so you guys facilitate, like you work with, who are some of your key medical supply companies? Pfizer and
well, we don't do so that's a really good question. Thank you for that. We don't work with pharmaceutical companies, okay, because mostly everything we do is medical equipment and supplies. And so for the supplies and equipment, we depend on our local hospitals, our private practices, hospices. We work with Banner, Dignity, mm-hmm, Health, Honor Health, and we procure equipment and supplies from them. And we also have amazing manufacturing partners like Stryker and Medline. We recently got 22,000 emergency relief beds, brand new from Stryker, that we in turn shipped over 20 plus containers to countries that were also running out of beds. And one thing I do want to add is during COVID, and that was, during the height of COVID last year, we were able to respond to the need of our local communities, and we donated $33 million worth of supplies to our local hospitals. The same procurement partners that were making donations, prior to COVID, were now coming to us asking for PPE, and we were able to help our own backyard.
Well, and that is something that you would never anticipate, that all this would be needed in the United States. Because you had supplies of masks and gloves and all those kind of things, right? That everybody was scrambling for.
You're right.
Isn't that interesting how that kind of pivoted? Did that cut back what you were sending abroad, or did it?
No, we have supplies. We were getting supplies. We had supplies ready to send towards the tail end of last year and even into this year. There are hotspots, and one of the hotspots was India, and they needed ventilators, oxygen tanks, and we, and as we were responding to the international community, we found ourselves, in need, but we were always able to find the supplies required for these international friends and partners and for their facilities. So yeah, it became a little tough, but we were able to do it. And so it didn't really cause any kind of slowdown. And we actually sent a record number of containers last year, despite of some of the challenges with the border closings. And as a humanitarian nonprofit, we were very blessed to be able to still help with those needs.
So I have a question. It's kind of a technical question, but do you own your own containers? Because I, with the whole supply chain challenge that everybody's having right now, is that affecting Project C.U.R.E as well?
Well, so good question. We don't own containers. We're not in the container business. And yes, it is challenging, and it's right now with the supply chain and containers very much in need.
Mm-hmm.
We are in line with everyone else. And so, yes, we are having to wait longer periods of time to get those containers in the queue to any one of our 7 warehouses. And also the rental of those have gone up. So it is a challenge, and we're, just getting through it.
Wow. So what in your job as the executive director of Project C.U.R.E, what has been your biggest challenge in the last year or two?
The biggest challenge is to find new partners to come alongside us
Mm-hmm.
and to help with the funding.
Mm-hmm.
I think with COVID, there was a perception, well, you're not going to be sending as many containers, and the actual opposite happened. So our partners that we have done, containers to, Myanmar, Africa, South, Central America, Mexico, they're still working alongside us. And so the challenge is to really continue to raise the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And that what we do is very critical. I mean, if it was critical before COVID, it's now even almost dire,
Right.
beyond critical to get these shipments of supplies. I'm still getting a request from Myanmar for their border countries, because refugees have gone to the borders of Bangladesh, the borders of Thailand, the borders of India, and we need that kind of funding. Refugees are in more dire need. There's not a lot of support for medical needs, and women are still having babies.
Yes.
Children still need care, and people are still breaking a limb and need to have orthopedic medical equipment. So yes, the challenge is to get the awareness that this is the work we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we need funding for the shipment. Everything in the container is donated.
Mm-hmm.
And what is in that container can be anywhere valued at $250,000 to $1 million. And that is donated. What we have to recoup is the shipping, the cost of the rental of the container overhead. And so we really want to plead our case that come on in and take a tour and see what we do.
Do you what percentage of your funds are like individual donors, corporate partners? Do you get any government funding?
We do. We get We have partners in the international world, the UN, USAID. We are working with other governments for grants. And yes, we do have individual donors. We have company, donors that are right there as sponsoring. We have churches, we have schools. We really meet kind of that, that need that a lot of people want to say, I want to give back. How do I give back?
Right.
And I come from this country and I come from that country, and I have it really good in the United States, but I come from Ghana and I want to help my Ghanaians who don't have what I have. So our funding comes from a vast, diverse group of organizations and individuals.
I'm fascinated with what you do, and I'm fascinated since we met. You have gotten to travel all over the world. You have a background with lots of different charities. You've worked with Special Olympics, Hope for Kids International, and now with Project C.U.R.E. And before that, you were with American Express, right?
Yep.
So what brings you joy working in the field of philanthropy?
Wow, that just covers so many different aspects. When I see someone that I'm serving, when I see hope or joy in their eyes, and I have traveled to many parts of Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, and I've done medical facility assessments. So you go room to room, because if we get a partner that says, I need this, 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 and this, we make sure, and I've been trained as an assessor to ensure that, the electricity, that if they don't have the electricity, do they need a transformer? We also measure, we're going to be sending electrical equipment. Are they going to be able to support that? So beds, wheelchairs, everything that they need. And when you go through those hospitals, you see sometimes in the eyes of people who are in the hospital trying to get better, you see their eyes are kind of flat. And when I speak with them, and this goes to any one of the nonprofits I worked, when I see hope and joy. And when I come back from seeing some of those harsh realities of what they don't have to get better, to feel better, to survive, it brings me back with a high level of responsibility, because now I made commitments. I spoke with them. I said, we're going to be sending, this over, in a few months. And when I get those photos that they got the container, that it was unloaded, it brings a sense of joy to me. It's a purpose a profound purpose of why I do what I do. And it makes me happy. It fulfills my passion to help and to serve people on a scale of, I may never know and meet the people that I help, but just knowing that I helped is enough for me to feel that I just want to continue to do this. And I'm very, very passionate about coming back and telling the story, telling the journeys.
And yeah, and seeing the effects of what you've done really impact people's lives. I think it's hard. The position of an executive director, and I know lots of different executive directors and all different charities, but one thing that hits me about you is that you're really so versatile, but you can do boots on the ground. Like you said, you can be actually in the hospital doing the assessment. Then you're wining and dining, sponsors, then you're putting on events, then you're doing warehouse logistics. I mean, you have to have so many talents, Ruth. And then I love the fact that you still have that passion and purpose. So it's so genuine and so You know, you really radiate it, and I think you're perfect, absolutely perfect for what you do. You're where you're supposed to be right now. I hope you feel that way.
I do. I do.
But I have to ask a question. You have a Six Sigma green belt. Let's find out a little bit more about the other side of Ruth.
Well, you know, thank you for asking that question, because it seems so long ago. I started at a young age at American Express, really felt that was going to be the place I retire, and had so many opportunities and so many state-of-the-art training. And you wake up one day, and I've been in many different levels of leadership and management, and did do the big company, you know, card issuance like Honeywell and IBM, all of those big companies, and loved it, until you wake up one morning and you ask that question. And I was ready after 16 years to answer that question. Is this serving your purpose in life? And I think it did to a point where it taught me Green Belt Six Sigma, which is how to look at processes and always areas of improvement, to always be, you know, customer service oriented, to work with corporations, and learn so much from them. But you know, was I filling my life purpose? And the answer was no. And so that's why I entered the nonprofit sector, because that really fulfilled my heart. Now, I still had all of that training. You can take the girl out of corporate, but you can't take the corporate out of the girl.
I love that.
And I still conduct myself as if still in the corporate world, with, you know, PowerPoint presentations and corporate protocols, but I lead with my heart. So they work really well together. So I will always be grateful and thankful for that time at American Express. It was just time for me to take it to another level, and fulfilling my purpose and my heart.
Well, it seems like the perfect blend and perfect transition. And I think any nonprofit would be lucky to have you, because you've got that organizational structure. Sometimes that's so lacking, and that, you know, the fact that you come from the business world and can do that is probably one of the keys to your success. And you are quite a spiritual person, I would imagine. I was asking you earlier, you know, I always like to ask everybody that I work with, a little bit on the personal side, like, do you have a symbol or something that resonates with you, that gives you strength, or when you see it, you know, it reminds you of something? Is there a symbol that's significant in your life, Ruth?
Yes, and it is, I don't know if you can see it, it's the crucifix.
Oh,
it's the
yes.
Crucifix. Yeah, I always have one, either on my wrist or on my neck. And what the crucifix is, what it means to me, is my faith, my expression of my faith, hope, and my strength, and everything that I use day in and day out. Because if my life is going great, I still have the work that I need to have strength. I need to show hope. I need to convey that, you know, we're working towards a meaningful goal. And that's, you know, that gets me through it. It either helps me or it helps someone else out. And so, yes, it's just a part of who I am.
Well, and I love that you're wearing it. You know, charms are wearable symbols, and I know, you know, they make a lot of difference. People have been wearing them for centuries to portray their passion and their purpose, and give them strength. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. What else would you like to share with our audience about Ruth Sanchez, and what you're most compelled to do to help the world? whether it's professional or personal.
Yeah, I think I just want to share a story of a real challenging experience last year. I actually was in Ghana and Kenya to do medical assessments and came back. This was mid-March, and went through Europe. And as I arrived, I started to show symptoms of COVID.
Oh, dear.
And a week later, I was diagnosed with COVID. And I didn't end up in the hospital, but I had a situation where I thought I was having a heart attack. And that's where my faith had to be, be really, really strong, because I thought I was dying.
Oh.
And so I went to the hospital and they're like, you're not having a heart attack. It's just one of the, symptoms of COVID. And so the next month, I asked my cardiologist, you got to run tests. Something really, really was serious. And after 6 different tests, they found I needed to have a triple bypass.
Wow.
And, yeah. And so I found myself having the surgery, healing from that. And what I would want everybody to understand is it was hard for me to go through that. And I had a lot of people praying for me. But I was telling the surgical team of the work I did, and I said, please, please help me to survive, because there's so many people I still need to serve. They're waiting for me. And the surgeon nurse said, oh, we're going to make sure we take care of you. Don't you worry. Hey, everybody, let's make sure we take care of Ruth, because many people need her.
Oh, wow.
So I turned a negative into a positive, and now I get to say COVID saved my life.
Oh. Well, I don't think there's a lot of people that have a story like that, Ruth. I mean, that is so inspiring. And the fact that you ended up in the hospital during having that kind of surgery during COVID, but also with all the people around the hospital, really understanding what you do and the impact of what you do, because they use those supplies all the time. That must have been like a full circle aha inspiration for you and the whole medical team. That is unbelievable.
Well, think about that. If I had been in a developing country, would I have been in a surgical suite like the one I was at Honor Health in Scottsdale?
Wow. That's an amazing story.
Oh yeah, it's sometimes.
And you were clutching that cross.
Yeah. No, but sometimes I feel, was it a dream? Was it real? But it was real. And you look back and think, did I really get through that? Like, and I had so many people cheering for me, my CEO, Dr. Doug Jackson, my team, my teammates, volunteers, ambassadors. So there were a lot of people still helping me, even with my work as I was recovering.
Well, it's interesting when you go through a challenge like that, the goodness and kindness of your friends and family, it really comes out, and you really know. It's nice to know how much you're loved. And sometimes you don't know, because you just get so buried in your work and in your personal life. I think that that's one thing that really stands out about you as a person, is that you always find the silver lining, and you always turn the negative into a positive. So kudos, Ruth, and you just keep doing that and keep inspiring people.
Thank you.
Really amazing. If people want to get a hold of you, if they want to talk to you or interview you or support Project C.U.R.E, I assume they can go to the Project C.U.R.E website, which is projectcure.org. Is there an email or an 800 number or anything, or would you reach out to you on LinkedIn? Or
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook. I am on our projectcure.org website, and if you click on Phoenix, all my contact information is on there. My email is really simple, Ruth Sanchez at projectcure.org. We're here in Tempe, and my door is always open. I'd love to give tours. I also have a video tour that if people don't want to come in, they're still being careful with COVID. I can send them some information in a video. So yes, always here to share the awareness and to bring in new partners.
Yeah, I must say too, when we first met, I did come for a tour of your facility and it was mind-boggling to me. I just had no idea the magnitude of what you did, and seeing, you know, all these hospital beds and all this medical equipment and wheelchairs and all this stuff, and just knowing that it was going over to all these people in, you know, Africa and countries where it was so needed. It was just, yeah, it's definitely an organization that makes a tangible impact on people in the world. So I commend you for helping to run such a great organization. It was great to meet the CEO, Doug Jackson, recently at an event, and Charity Charms, which is my company. We are just really, really honored to have you in our family and to do a project for you.
Thank you.
So Ruth, I hope that we'll have many more good times and lots of collaborations in the future. And I want to thank you so much for being my special guest today. Again,
thank you, Kay.
projectcure.org.
Thank you.